Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of the World Economic Forum, it's really my honor to welcome you to the World Economic Forum's 54th annual meeting. With us in Davos are 3,000 participants from over 125 countries, including 350 heads of state and government and ministers. It is crucial that leaders from the public and private sectors are convening at the start of such a consequential year for all of us. Because the 2024 annual meeting takes place against one of the most complex geopolitical and geoeconomic backdrops in decades. We are seeing a very complicated security landscape and quite a fragile economic outlook still. We are also seeing forces of fragmentation exert pressure on the international system, precisely when cooperation is most needed. We know the most urgent issues that countries and companies face: security, the economy, climate change, cyber, potential new pandemics, are not confined by borders. They do travel without passports. And the same holds for true opportunities. Frontier technologies can add trillions of dollars to the global economy annually. And our economies can be transformed to be more resilient and equitable. But we can only unlock these benefits by working together. Thankfully, even in today's complex context, cooperation is possible and happening. The World Economic Forum's annual meeting, I think, is a proof of that. The week ahead and the year ahead will deliver important outcomes of collaboration between business and governments. I'm now very pleased to introduce our founder and executive chairman, Professor Schwab. Dear Klaus, the floor is yours.
Madam President, dear constituents of the World Economic Forum, dear friends. Today we stand really at a unique juncture in human history, facing challenges that are as diverse as they are profound. The special role of the World Economic Forum is not to look just at one single issue. It is a place where at the beginning of the year we come together to analyze the state of the world in a systemic and strategic way, and hopefully to find common ground to generate positive impact. Geopolitically, our world, as my friend and colleague said, Jorge Brende, geopolitically our world is more interconnected, yet paradoxically more divided and fragmented than ever. Economically, we grapple with sluggish growth. The very fabric of our societies is inclusiveness, which is in doubt. Environmentally, we confront the relentless challenges of climate change, a threat to our planet's delicate balance. And technologically, we navigate uncharted waters where innovation offers boundless opportunities, but also unprecedented risks. Those deeply transformative challenges, which are actually the cornerstone of our program, lead to uncertainty, generalized fear, and pessimism. They force us into a mode of short-term crisis management at the detriment of long-term strategic and sustainable solutions. This reactionary approach undermines our collective faith in the future. At the end, here we losing the faith of our future, we risk to become much more ego-centered and on a national and individual level. To break this cycle, we need a paradigm shift. We must rebuild trust, and that's actually the theme of our meeting. We have to rebuild trust. Trust in our future, trust in our capacity to overcome challenges, and most importantly, trust in each other. Trust is not just a feeling. Trust is a commitment to action, to belief, to hope. To achieve this, we must rediscover and embrace the narrative that has driven humanity since its inception, acting as trustees for a better future. This narrative isn't about short-term gains or individual successes. It is about stewardship, about preserving and enhancing our world for current and future generations. It is about understanding that our actions today have far-reaching consequences tomorrow. The concept of trust and trusteeship compels us to think beyond borders and beyond our lifetimes. It encourages collaboration over competition, sustainability over expediency, and empathy over apathy. As trustees of the future, we are responsible for advancing a world which is richer in possibilities, more equitable in opportunities, and more secure in its foundations. Moreover, as leaders in government, business, and society, we bear a particular responsibility to rebuild trust in how we assume our own role as trustees. The annual meeting of the World Economic Forum is not a collective decision-making body, but its impact stems from the new insights gained through dialogue and interaction, and more importantly, from the commitments made by each participant to contribute more significantly in their respective areas of responsibility to solving our most pressing issues. The cornerstone of our program are actually our more than 100 initiatives. Those initiatives are embedded into work programs, bringing together governments, business, and civil society and the best experts throughout the year. For this annual meeting, while the vibrant atmosphere surrounding our gathering is a testament to its global significance, it is essential that we focus on our mission, committed to improving the state of the world, by engaging into those action-oriented initiatives. The World Economic Forum is not just Davos. It's an engagement throughout the year. In conclusion, trust is a fundamental pillar of our social, economic, and political lives. It is vital for cooperation, social cohesion, and effectively functioning institutions. To rebuild trust, there is a fundamental need to embody trusteeship, which means to care for the greater good. Let's use this annual meeting to rebuild trust by exercising our trusteeship individually and collectively for safeguarding the future of humanity and nature. Thank you. Wir freuen uns sehr, Frau
We are pleased to now welcome the President of the Swiss Confederation, Viola Amherd, here in Davos. It's not the first time, but it is the first time that we can welcome her in this role as the President. Madam President, you are an active member. 2019, and in addition to your role as a president, you are also the Federal Counselor of Defense, Civil Protection and Sports.
An dieser Stelle möchte ich Ihnen ganz herzlich danken.
I would now like to thank you
für die große Unterstützung und Gastfreundschaft,
for your support, for your hospitality,
den Support, den wir von der Regierung,
that you have shown. Thank you.
Dem Kanton
I would also like to
der
thank
Schweizer Armee
the Swiss Army, which is part of your responsibilities, as well as the Swiss police. Thank you also to the city of Davos and Klosters, a place that has been well known for its hospitality for years and has made this meeting possible year after year. But most of all, we would like to thank the people of Davos and Klosters, who welcome us here year after year and who contribute greatly to the success of this meeting. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let me now welcome President of the Swiss Confederation, Viola Amherd.
Ja, besten Dank, sehr geehrter Herr Professor
Thank you,
Schwab,
dear Professor Schwab,
Exzellenzen,
Excellencies,
meine Damen und Herren.
ladies and
Das
gentlemen.
Motto des WEF-Jahrestreffens
The theme of the
2024, Rebuilding
WEF
Trust,
annual meeting in
ist keine
2024,
freundliche
Rebuilding
Klausel
Trust,
oder Floskel,
is not just a
sondern
pleasant
es zeigt
catchphrase,
unverblümt,
but
wie es
clearly
aktuell
demonstrates
um das
the current state of
Vertrauen in der
mutual trust in the global
steht.
community.
Es ist schlecht bestellt darum.
The rules of the game are increasingly questioned. Authoritarian or even totalitarian ideas are sometimes accepted, widely shared, as if we had already forgotten the lessons of the 20th century. And this process does not even stop before the greatest achievements of mankind. The United Nations reports a regression of human rights in all regions and the global democratic recession. When looking back, well, we might see that there is reason to be worried. In 2022, the International Institute for Democracy recorded a regression in global democratic development for the 6th time in a row. The consequences of this sinister trend are as devastating for people's aspirations and freedom as economic setbacks can be. The fact that authoritarian regimes are also undermining democratic values and institutions beyond their borders is contributing to the erosion of trust. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, trust is easily squandered and hard-earned. For innovation, investment and economic development, trust is no longer sufficient, but nevertheless essential. Allow me to outline the reasons for my confidence, the steps that need to be taken to restore international trust, and what Switzerland can contribute to this process. When we look back, It may be frightening to recognize certain patterns that have led to disasters in the past, but there are also positive lessons to be learned. The international community established the UN after the Second World War, and in Europe there is the EU, the Council of Europe, the OSCE, and now also the European political community. This year, we also mark the 75th anniversary of the Geneva Conventions, the centerpiece of international humanitarian law. They also embody the endeavor to rebuild broken trust and protect people from cruelty and inhumanity in wartime. Rebuilding trust. We know it is possible. For this, we need dialogue and respect on the one hand, and clear rules that everyone adheres to on the other. What steps are needed to restore trust on an international level? The first priority must be an open and transparent dialogue between states, but also with and between organizations in the multilateral system. We need to strengthen the UN and other global and regional institutions so that they can play their role as platforms for dialogue more effectively once again. This is precisely why Switzerland supports the reform proposals of UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. We also need to realize that genuine compromises are necessary. We must prevent power politics from destroying our livelihoods. Especially when it comes to ecological transitions, we urgently need real progress and a society-wide shift in thinking. The process leading up to the Summit of the Future in September must prove that, despite all the difficulties, the international community is working towards common goals. Agreements and compromises must then also be implemented. A reliable approach to implementation is important for credibility and builds trust. This includes a renewed respect for the UN Charter, other international treaties, and other globally agreed measures. Fake news poses a real threat, especially today when the rapid development of artificial intelligence contributes to the increasing credibility of such fake news. However, digitalization also offers potential for increased transparency and a sharing of knowledge and information. If used correctly, this can help to build trust. Switzerland is particularly committed to promoting the global governance of artificial intelligence. Those who rely on lies and ideologies for their policies may score points in the short term, but in the medium and long term they will lose trust. Good policy is based on verified facts and takes scientific evidence into account. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, some parts of the general public distrust all of us gathered here, and all political and business leaders. Rebuilding trust is not just a matter for states and politicians. It is a responsibility for the economy as well. It is clear that increasing social imbalances fuel populism, even in prosperous countries. When the alleged elite flaunts its wealth, while many families can barely make ends meet, mistrust grows. At that point, the international community and governments are no longer heard and no longer understood, even if they put forward great proposals. Many among you in this room have the opportunity to strengthen cohesion and social equality in your companies. It is up to you, ladies and gentlemen, to take responsibility and align your business decisions accordingly. In the long term, this also serves the interest of entrepreneurs. If you make demands, you should deliver. For Switzerland, this means that we are committed to building new trust in the world. For example, through the good offices that my country traditionally provides, or through the fact that we engage in dialogue with everyone. Switzerland's neutrality, commitment and reliability can be useful in resolving conflicts. As a member of the UN Security Council, Switzerland also has a special responsibility this year. We want to help ensure that solutions are found, despite the increasing tendency to think in terms of political blocs. Geneva is a place that brings together state actors, business, academia and civil society. In January, Davos also becomes such a place. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are not at the mercy of negative trends. We can counter them. Trust and hope can be earned. We have to do it. That is what we are here for. Let's get to work. Merci.
Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor and privilege to introduce His Excellency Premier Li CHANG, Premier of the People's Republic of China. While his remarks, Premier Li's inaugural participation in the annual meeting here in Davos, he is no stranger to the World Economic Forum. We were privileged to host him at the Summer Davos in Tianjin last June. Premier Li, you had an illustrious career in public service. You started your career in your hometown of Ruiyang, Zhejiang province, and rose through the ranks to become leader of three of the most economically vibrant regions of China, Shanghai, Jiangsu, and Zhejiang. You were elected Premier of the State Council in March 2023, and you have been instrumental in steering China through economic recovery, fostering social stability, and championing green development. Premierly, you are widely recognized as a pro-business and pro-reform leader, with China assuming a pivotal role as the world's second-largest economy. We are, of course, all keen to hear your views on the current challenges and opportunities facing China and the world, especially against the backdrop of the theme of this meeting, rebuilding trust. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to His Excellency Premier Li Qiang, the Premier of the People's Republic of China.
Your Excellency President Viola Amherd, Professor Klaus Schwab, Your Excellencies State Leaders and Heads of International Organizations, ladies and gentlemen, friends, greetings to you all. It gives me great pleasure to come to the beautiful Davos for the World Economic Forum Annual Meeting 2024. The theme of this meeting, Rebuilding Trust, echoes well with people's concerns, and I believe will surely strike a chord with many. As I see it, the word rebuild implies at least three things. Trust was once prevalent. To a large extent,
经济全球化取得了巨大的进展，很大程度上还是得益于各国之间的相互信任。重建这个词的第二个含义，我理解是指现在的信任之基遭到了破坏，信任缺失正在加剧
The lack of trust is aggravating risks to global growth and peaceful development.
第三，重建信任尤为重要。无论是克服我们现实的困难，还是共创美好的未来，我们都应当放下成见，弥合分歧，团结一致地去破解信任的赤字。那么，信任从何而来？我想，它首先应该建立在我们对人类美好未来的憧憬，并且愿意为之共同努力的基础之上。正如习近平主席所指出的，世界之变、时代之变、历史之变正在以前所未有的方式展开，世界进入了新的动荡变革期，但人类发展进步的大方向不会变，世界历史曲折前进的大逻辑不会变，国际社会命运与共的大趋势不会变。去年6月份，我去中国的天津参加上海达沃斯论坛，在这个论坛上，我也提出，经历过这些年的变局变化，我们应当更加珍惜沟通与交流，应当更加珍视团结和合作，应当更加珍视和平和稳定，应当更加珍视开放和共享。这些应变之道， 某种意义上也是重建信任之道。在这里，我想主要就经济领域重建信任、加强合作，想与大家分享我的5点建议。建议之一，就是要加强宏观经济政策协调，更好地汇聚世界经济增长的合力。当今世界经济联系是十分密切的，各国宏观政策的外溢效应更加明显。在全球性危机的冲击下，如果碎片化的各自为政、各自为战，只会让我们这个世界经济更加脆弱。世界各国，特别是主要经济体，在制定实施宏观政策的时候，应当加强对话和沟通，采取更为协调、有效的措施，坚定维护多边贸易体制，共同完善全球经济治理，培育全球经济发展新的动能。我的建议第2个是加强国际产业分工协作，切实维护全球产业链、供应链的畅通稳定。有关数据显示，2020年到2023年，全球新增歧视性的贸易及其相关的投资措施，年均增长了，年均超过了5400多项。这个数据大概是2019年新冠疫情之前的近2倍。大家知道，产业链、供应链的稳定是经济发展的血管系统，任何干扰破坏都会在世界经济大循环当中形成主梗断点，既牺牲发展的效率，又会诱发各种经济风险以及社会问题。只有充分尊重国际产业分工的客观规律，坚定不移地推进贸易和投资自由化、便利化，把合作的纽带拉紧，把互惠的蛋糕做大，不断地提升全球产业链、供应链的稳定性，才真正符合各方的共同利益。我的第3个建议是加强国际科技交流合作，让技术变革更好地惠及人类。新一轮的科技革命和产业变革带来国与国之间新的竞合关系。只有加强创新合作，才能形成良好的竞争，激发最大的活力。科技成果应该造福全人类，而不应该成为限制甚至遏制他国的一种手段。我们应该以更加开放的思维和举措，推进国际科技合作交流，携手打造开放、公正、非歧视的科技发展环境，打破制约创新要素流动的壁垒，能够让创新在开放的土壤当中茁壮成长。我的第4个建议是加强绿色发展合作，积极应对全球气候变化。人类在应对气候变化、推进绿色低碳转型方面，仍然面临着不少的挑战。 诸如一边大谈加强气候治理合作，一边设置绿色贸易壁垒的做法还大量存在。一些优质高效的绿色低碳技术和产品不能自由流通。我们应该坚持共同但有区别的责任原则，加强绿色发展战略对接，破除各种绿色壁垒，共同推进经济社会发展全面绿色转型。我的第5个建议是加强南北合作、南南合作，着力建设普惠包容的世界经济。近年来，全球南北差距、复苏分化、技术鸿沟等问题是更加突出，不少发展中国家陷入了困境。世界银行预测，今年将有超过1/3的低收入国家，它的人均收入仍然低于2019年。中国人讲求的是美美与共，只有大家一起发展，才是真发展，才是好发展。我们应当全面落实联合国2030年可持续发展议程，加强全球发展合作，弥合发展鸿沟，在减贫、粮食安全、工业化等领域打造新的合作亮点，让更多合作成果惠及各国人民。中国优秀传统文化包含了十分丰富的诚信内涵。中国历来言必行，行必果，是重信守诺的国家。我们始终以最大的诚意，付出最大的努力，以实实在在的成果向世人证明中国是值得信赖的。我们也深知信任赤字的加深既有客观的原因，也有人为的因素。由于一方的任性而损害彼此的信任，这样的情形在多边、双边关系当中还是有不少。做好自己才能赢得信任，各方唯有以诚相待，相向而行，才能夯实信任之基，收获更多的合作之果。女士们、先生们、朋友们，当前形势下，推动世界经济复苏，需要有强劲的支撑力量，期待着各方，特别是主要经济体，能够有更大的贡献。我知道在座的各位对中国的经济都非常关心，也有自己对中国经济的不同的看法。到底中国经济情况怎么样？如何看待中国经济？我想，这与我们在达沃斯这个小镇看阿尔卑斯山也有相通之处。阿尔卑斯山群峰巍峨，连绵不断。有欧洲朋友告诉我，要想领略阿尔卑斯山的雄浑壮阔之美，一定要把视野放宽，把目标投远一些。我认为，看待中国经济也同样如此。只有我们打开视野的纵深，进行全景式的观察，才能做到客观和全面，才能看到整体和全貌，真正了解中国经济当下之行和长远之势。在这里，我愿意就中国经济的情况 向大家做个简要的介绍。第一，中国经济稳健前行，将持续为世界经济发展提供强大动力。中国是全球发展的重要引擎。这些年，我们对世界经济增长贡献率一直是在30%左右。刚刚过去的2023年，中国经济总体回升向好，预计我们的经济总量 GDP 的增幅在5.2%左右，高于我们去年年初确定的5%左右的目标。在经济发展的过程当中，我们坚持不搞强刺激，没有以积累长期风险为代价换取短期的增长，而是着力增强内生发展动力。中国作为全球第2大经济体，已经在长期发展当中形成了良好稳固的基本面。这就好像一个人有了强劲的体魄以后，他的免疫力自然就会随之增长。即使中国经济在运行当中也会出现一些波折，但是它长期向好的总体趋势不会改变。从产业基础来看，中国是唯一拥有联合国产业分类当中全部工业门类的国家。我们制造业增加值占了全球比重约30%，已经连续14年居世界首位。我们已经形成了200多个成熟的产业集群，不论是产业体系的总体规模、完备程度，还是配套能力，我们都能够满足社会生产力快速发展的需要，也将为优化全球生产要素的配置，提高全球生产能力，做出中国特有的贡献。从要素禀赋情况来看，中国的人口红利正向人才红利提升，人才资源总量、科技人力资源、研发人员总量，中国都位居全球首位。资本要素从短缺变为充裕，每年资本形成额占全球比重也上升至约30%。另外，中国的数据产量巨大，数据资源丰富，是世界上第2大数据富矿。这是从要素资源禀赋情况看。从创新能力看，中国的全社会研发投入、高技术产业投资已经连续多年保持2位数的增长。云计算、大数据、人工智能、区块链等新兴技术加快应用，智能终端、机器人、远程医疗等新产品、新业态在中国是不断的涌现。高新技术企业数现在增加到将近40万家，独角兽企业的数量我们仍然位居世界第2。这些都将加快中国发展新动能的形成和壮大。从总体上看，中国正以高质量发展全面推进中国式现代化，将引领14亿多人口 整体脉络现代化，这在人类史上是罕见的壮举，必将为中国和世界的发展提供源源不断的动力。第二，中国具有超大规模市场，并处于需求快速释放的阶段，将持续为各类企业和人才的发展提供广阔的舞台。当前全球总需求仍然不足，市场是最稀缺的资源之一。中国的市场空间广阔，纵深也在不断的延长，这必将为提升全球总需求发挥重大的作用。目前，中国的中等收入群体约4亿多人，未来10几年，这个群体将翻一番，增加到8亿人。对越来越多商品、服务的需求，从过去有没有向好不好转变，消费升级的动能非常强劲。还有中国的城镇化，现在城镇化率比发达国家平均水平还低10几个百分点。我们下一步城市更新、交通、电信等基础设施的升级空间还很大。另外，我们还有近3亿的农业转移人口正在加快市民化的进程，这些都将在住房、教育、医疗、养老等方面带来巨大的需求。中国正在深入推进绿色低碳转型，现在全球光伏发电装机容量一半在我们中国，全球新能源汽车一半行驶在中国的道路上。我们新能源汽车的保有量到去年底已经到了2000万辆，全球1/4的新增绿化面积来自于中国。中国还将在绿色基建、绿色能源、绿色交通、绿色生活等领域形成规模庞大的发展增量。孕育的投资和消费市场，据我们预测，每年将达到10万亿级，规模巨大，潜力巨大。我们将不断地发掘和释放这些市场需求，继续扩大对全球各地优质产品服务的进口规模，加大在中高端制造、生物医药等领域对外资引进的力度，持续为世界贸易、投资增长提供更加宽广的天地。第三，中国的对外开放坚定不移，将持续为世界各国分享中国机遇创造良好条件。过去40多年，中国在开放当中发展了自己，惠及了世界。现在中国已经是140多个国家和地区主要贸易伙伴，我们关税总水平已经降到7.3%，接近世界世贸组织发达成员的水平。我们积极主动扩大开放，就是要让世界分享中国机遇，与各国共同发展。今天在座的有很多是企业家，我看到也有不少是我的老熟人、老朋友。多年来，跨国企业深耕中国市场，也依托中国的制造能力，面向全球扩大产能，加速了自身成长，获得了丰厚的回报。 近5年来，外商在中国直接投资的收益率约9%，在国际上这也是处在一个比较高的水平。因此我说，选择中国市场不是风险，而是机遇。我们敞开怀抱，真心欢迎各国企业继续投资中国，将持续努力打造市场化、法治化、国际化一流的营商环境。我们将稳步扩大制度型开放，继续缩减外资准入负面清单，落实好全面取消制造业领域外资准入限制，保障外商投资企业国民待遇。针对很多跨国公司关心的中国的数据跨境流通问题、参与政府采购问题等等，中国正在研究制定有关政策。我们还将常态化听取外资企业的意见，只有是合理的诉求，我们都会积极的推动解决。总之，不管世界形势如何变化，中国都将坚持对外开放的基本国策，开放的大门只会越开越大。女士们、先生们、朋友们，再过20多天，中国农历龙年的新春佳节就要到来。在中华传统文化当中，龙代表着祥瑞、智慧和力量。面对共同挑战，我们希望国际社会各个方面都能带着对人类美好未来的向往，以龙腾虎跃的姿态，向着构建人类命运共同体不断迈进。最后，预祝本次年会圆满成功，谢谢大家。
Thank you very much, Premier Li, for sharing with us 5 proposals related to strengthening global cooperation, but also providing us with a trustful outlook for China's economy. We have time for 2 short questions. And Mr. Premier, the recent years have witnessed, and you mentioned it in your 3rd proposal, have witnessed a rapid growth of artificial intelligence. And you mentioned in your 3rd proposal increased cooperation, global cooperation related to innovation. Now, artificial intelligence global governance is of such an importance. What will China play? What role will China play in this regard?
请允许我再喝口水啊，刚才喉咙哑了。
So let me drink some water first.
确实，刚才司法部主席提的这个问题啊，非常重要。现在人工智能啊是个热词，到哪里大家都在议论人工智能，特别是以 ChatGPT 为代表的生成式的人工智能技术问世以后，大家是有喜有惊，又爱又怕，感觉 AI 现在是无处不在，无所不能，但又感到无所适从。其实 AI 发展与人类其他的技术发展进步有相似性，往往是一把双刃剑。也就是说， 用好了，它就会为人类的文明进步和发展带来机遇，是科技革命产业变革的重要推动力，但同时也不可避免的会对安全甚至伦理形成新的风险和挑战。中国人对科技的进步发展秉持的态度历来是科技向上，造福人类。我想 AR 的发展治理也应该遵循这样的原则。最基本的要做的2条，第一条要坚持一人为本，也就是说要让人来控制机器，而不是反过来机器控制人。要引导人工智能朝着促进人类进步发展的方向来发展。因此，我们要给人工智能发展画一条底线或者是红线，这条底线和红线大家都不可逾越，大家都必须共同遵守。也就是说，要以我们人类的善知来促使这些新技术变成善治。我前面的善治的治，中文当中是治理的治，后面这个治是智能的治。第二点我要说的，还是要坚持普惠包容，也就是说，任何技术进步不能只让少数人获益，应该为大多数人造福。人工智能发展也一样，我们必须加强国际的协同合作。有问题，大家一起来解决；有利益，大家一起来分享，绝不能搞阵营分裂和对抗。特别要关注和照顾发展中国家的利益，要缩小发展中国家与发达国家的技术差距，弥合智能鸿沟。中国一直非常重视人工智能的发展和治理。从2018年开始，中国政府有关部门与上海市政府就在上海市每年举办世界人工智能大会，邀请全球各类有识之士共商 AR 大计。世界人工智能大会还成立了2个专家委员会，一个是战略规划专家委员会，另外一个就是人工智能伦理专家委员会。也就是说，一边抓发展，另外一边就是要抓治理，既要用好它，更要管好它。现在这个世界人工智能大会在上海已经办了6届了，今年是第7届，7月份举办。我们也欢迎大家来华参加这个世界人工智能大会。中国在人工智能领域的制度供给这方面也做了自己很多的努力，先后出台了许多法规，对数据安全、对人工智能的伦理、对深层次人工智能服务等问题做了规范，努力探索一条符合中国国情的治理框架。我们在去年还提出来了全球 人工智能治理方案，提出了中国的建议、中国的方案，受到了国际社会的普遍肯定。我们愿意与各方加强沟通，深化合作，进一步完善全球人工智能治理的体制建设，要努力促进人工智能这个技术更加安全、更好的造福各国人民。谢谢。
Mr. Premier, we have one last question in view of the time. We don't want artificial intelligence to become a new dividing line between North and South. I think we believe in multilateralism, and you spoke in your speech about multilateralism. But do you have any specific proposals for strengthening the rules-based multilateral global system?
这个题目比较大但是我很赞同刚才司法部主席讲的多边主义应该秉持，应该坚持。我的中文理解大概是这么一个意思。确实，真正的多边主义对世界各地会带来很大的益处，做好了就能达到1+1大于2的效果。具体来说，对中小国家多边主义恐怕是个护身符，能够维护它自身的合法权益。但是对大国来讲，多边主义就是一个试金石，检验大国是不是履行应尽的国际义务和责任。那么对于国际社会来讲，多边主义恐怕是个捏合剂，让世界各国更加紧密的、有效的团结协作。但问题就是，刚才主席先生讲的，什么才是真正的多边主义？刚才我注意到你提到一个词“规则”，也就是说，这个规则谁来制定？怎么制定？是什么？如果这个规则只有少数国家甚至少数几个人来制定，那么这个多边主义恐怕要打引号，本质上还是单边主义。真正的多边主义一定是基于国际社会普遍认同的规则，这当中最主要的要以联合国宪章宗旨和原则作为基础的国际关系的基本准则。我们应该把这一套规则作为我们全球治理的最主要的基石，大家共同遵守，坚定维护，而不是再另起炉灶，再搞一些其他所谓的新的规则。主席先生也一定知道，中国是第一个在联合国宪章上签字的创始成员国。我们已经参加了几乎所有具有影响力的政府间国际组织，我们已经加入了600多项国际公约，我们一直认真的、负责任的在履行国际业务，各项国际业务。我特别想说的是，中国不搞毁约退群，我们也不要求其他国家选边站队，我们是多边主义的坚定维护者，是中坚力量。 我们愿意与世界各方一道，真正践行多边主义，共创美好的未来。谢谢。
Thank you, Premier Li, for your presence here, for elaborating on China, on multilateralism, on artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is one of the key issues here. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving again another round of applause to Premier Li. Ladies and gentlemen, it's both a pleasure and a privilege to introduce a distinguished leader and visionary in the realm of international politics, President Ursula von der Leyen of the European Commission. President von der Leyen has been instrumental not only in steering Europe through very challenging times, but also ensuring its strong and influential voice in global affairs. Actually, you have been named the most influential woman in the world. Your leadership is a beacon of inspiration, symbolizing unity, strength, and a forward-looking Europe. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to President Ursula von der Leyen.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear Klaus, your annual global risk report makes for a stunning and sobering read. For the global business community, the top concern for the next 2 years is not conflict or climate, it is disinformation and misinformation, followed closely by polarization within our societies. These risks are serious because they limit our ability to tackle the big global challenges we are facing. Changes in our climate and our geopolitical climate, shifts in our demography and in our technology, spiraling regional conflicts and intensified geopolitical competition and their impacts on supply chains. The sobering reality is that we are once again competing more intensely across countries than we have in several decades. And this makes the theme of this year's Davos meeting even more relevant: rebuilding trust. This is not a time for conflicts or polarization. This is a time to build trust. This is a time to drive global collaboration more than ever before. This requires immediate and structural responses to match the size of the global challenges. I believe it can be done, and I believe that Europe can and must take the lead in shaping that global response. The starting point for that is to look deeper at the Global Risk Report to map out a way forward. Many of the solutions lie not only in countries working together, but crucially on businesses and governments, business and democracies working together. It has never been more important for the public and private sector to create new connective tissue, because none of these challenges respects borders. They each require collaboration to manage risks and to forge a path forward. And this is what I want to talk today about. While governments hold many of the levers to deal with the great challenges of our time, business have the innovation, the technology, the talents to deliver the solutions we need, to fight threats like climate change or industrial-scale disinformation. Europe is uniquely placed to show how this can work. Because our democracies and our businesses have interests that align, creating prosperity, wealth, and security for people, creating a stable environment to unlock innovation and investment, and creating equal opportunity and freedom. And this is more important than ever as we start 2024, the biggest electoral year in history. Democracies across the world will head to the polls, and half of the global population will be affected. This includes over 450 million people in the European Union, a union of 27 democracies, where all of us have the right to speak our mind, to be ourselves, even if we are different from the majority. In a democracy, it is the people, with their choices and behaviors, who pick winners and losers in the economic arena. Companies are free to compete. Change makers are free to innovate. Merit determines economic success. And our rules are built to ensure this, to protect intellectual property, to protect the safety of industrial data, to protect the savings of people and companies. And Europe stands up for global trade based on fair and open markets. Of course, like in all democracies, our freedom comes with risks. There will always be those who try to exploit our openness, both from inside and out. There will always be attempts to push us off track, for example, with disinformation and misinformation. And nowhere has there been more of that than on the issue of Ukraine. So let me provide you with some real information. Russia is failing on strategic goals. It is first and foremost a military failure. We haven't forgotten that when Russia invaded Ukraine, many feared that Kyiv would fall in just a few days and the rest of the country within weeks. This did not happen. Instead, Russia has lost roughly half of its military capabilities. Ukraine has driven Russia out of half of the territories it had captured. Ukraine has pushed back Russia's Black Sea fleet and reopened a maritime corridor to deliver the grain to the world. And Ukraine has retained its freedom and its independence. Russia's failure is also economic. Sanctions have decoupled its economy from modern technology and innovation. Russia is now dependent on China. And finally, Russia's failure is also diplomatic. Finland has joined NATO. Sweden will follow soon. And Ukraine is closer than ever on its path to the European Union. And all of this tells us that Ukraine can prevail in this war. But we must continue to empower their resistance. Ukrainians need predictable financing throughout 2024 and beyond. They need a sustained supply of weapons to defend Ukraine and regain its rightful territory. They need capabilities to deter future attacks by Russia. And they also need hope. They need to know that with their struggle, they will earn a better future for their children. And Ukraine's better future is called Europe. And it was with immense joy that last month we decided to launch the negotiations of accession for Ukraine's EU membership. This will be Ukraine's historic achievement, and it will be Europe responding the call of history. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that Russia's invasion has also had an impact on the cost of living and the cost of doing business here in Europe. I know how much that has affected some of your companies. But I started by saying that the risks we face require collaboration between countries and businesses, and that our joint capacity to respond was far stronger than we might believe. And nowhere is this best exemplified than when it comes to energy and sustainability. 2 years ago, before Russia's aggression against Ukraine, 1 in 5 units of energy consumed in the European Union in 2021 were imported from Russia. The high dependence on Russia was widely recognized as a risk, especially after Russia's occupation of Crimea. And then came Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia had already increased Europe's vulnerability by deliberately not filling gas storages to their usual level. And in the face of Ukrainian heroism and European solidarity, Putin decided that the time had come to threaten Europe directly by cutting gas supplies and using energy as his weapon. We all carry the bruises from Putin's decision. We face difficult choices and uncertainty, especially during winters. But we made the right choices. Now, only 2 years later, Europe has taken its energy destiny back into its own hands. Last year, 1 in 20 units of energy consumed in the European Union came from Russia. Sure, the crisis checked momentum in the European economy, but fears of economic collapse proved unfounded. And now energy prices have come down and stayed low, even during the recent cold snap at the start of January. Gas storages are still well supplied. Europe has made real progress in improving the resilience of its energy system. How was this possible? Because we acted in collaboration. Because we had well-functioning and open markets and good friends around the world that stepped up and stepped in alternative supplies. Because we had a single market that allowed us to redirect flows of energies to where it was needed. But most of all, because we doubled down on clean energy transitions, investing in the clean, efficient, and renewable technologies of the future. European industries and companies have been central to this. Latest numbers from the International Energy Agency show that growth in renewable energy capacity hit another record in the European Union in 2023. And the European Union improved the efficiency of its energy. The best energy is the one that is not used, by almost 5%. And in this way, we turned Putin's challenge into a major new opportunity. Last year, for the first time, the European Union produced more electricity from sun and wind than from gas. And this year, for the first time, the European Union is set to get more overall energy from wind and solar photovoltaic than it does from Russia. That is good news. But amid the reasons for optimism, let us not forget a key lesson from the crisis. Over-reliance on one company, one country, one trade route comes with risks. And that is why the European Green Deal puts such strong emphasis on not just reducing emissions, but also on a strong, competitive European presence in the new clean energy economy. And this includes Europe's leadership in clean energy technology, development and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, dear Klaus, let me go back to the number one concern of the Global Risk Report: disinformation and misinformation. Tackling this has been our focus since the very beginning of my mandate. With our Digital Services Act, we defined the responsibilities of large internet platforms on the content they promote and propagate, a responsible to children and vulnerable groups targeted by hate speech, but also a responsibility to our societies as a whole. Because the boundary between online and offline is getting thinner and thinner. And the values we cherish offline should also be protected online. And this is even more important in this new era of generative AI. Now, the World Economic Forum Global Risk Report puts artificial intelligence as one of the top potential risks for the next decade. First of all, let's not forget that AI is also a very significant opportunity if used in a responsible way. I'm a tech optimist, and as a medical doctor by training, I know that AI is already revolutionizing healthcare. That's good. AI can boost productivity at unprecedented speed. First movers will be rewarded, and the global race is already on, without any question. Our future competitiveness depends on AI adoption in our daily businesses. And Europe must up its game and show the way to responsible use of AI. That is artificial intelligence that enhances human capabilities, improves productivity, and serves society. We should invest where we have a competitive edge. For instance, Europe has got talent. There are nearly 200,000 software engineers in Europe with AI experience. And that is a greater concentration than in the United States and China. And our continent also has a huge competitive edge when it comes to industrial data. We can train artificial intelligence on data of unrivaled quality. And we want to invest in this. And this is why we will provide European startups and SMEs with access to our world-class supercomputers so that they can train and develop and test their large AI models. This is similar to what Microsoft is doing for ChatGPT by running it on its own supercomputers. We will also put common European data spaces at the service of startups. And we will make available massive amounts of data in all EU languages because AI should work also for non-English speakers. This is the new frontier of competitiveness. And Europe is well positioned to become the leader of industrial AI, the use of AI to transform critical infrastructures to become intelligent and sustainable. When we took office 4 years ago, we felt the need to set clear guardrails at European level to guide the development and deployment of artificial intelligence. And this is the thinking behind Europe's Artificial Intelligence Act, actually the first of its kind anywhere in the world, and another example of how democracies and businesses can help strengthen each other. The Artificial Intelligence Act builds trust by looking at high-risk cases like real-time biometric identification. And by building that trust, it enables companies to innovate in all other fields to make the most of this new and revolutionary technology. Ladies and gentlemen, our world is in an era of conflict and confrontation, of fragmentation and fear. For the first time in generations, the world is not at a single inflection point. It is at multiple inflection points, with risks overlapping and compounding each other. And there is no doubt that we face the greatest risk to the global order in the post-war era. But in my mind, there is also no doubt that we can move forward with optimism and resolve. Yes, the risks we face are real and present. But in order to face risks, we have to take risks together. And this is what Europe has always done. The European Union is at its best when we are bold, as we've seen only in the last few years, on the European Green Deal, on Next Generation EU, on supporting Ukraine, or on facing up to the pandemic. The next years will require us to think in the same way. And I believe the common power of our democracies and our businesses and industry will be at the heart of this. Our companies thrive on freedom to innovate and to invest and to compete. But freedom in businesses relies on the freedom of our political systems. And this is why I believe strengthening our democracy and protecting it from the risks and interference it faces is our common and enduring duty. We need to build trust more than ever, and Europe is prepared to play a key role. Thank you very much.
President von der Leyen, I think you helped us already to rebuild trust at least in Europe in its capacity to deal with challenges, but also to build at the same time a future-oriented role in the world. I want to ask, we have time unfortunately only for one question, but I would like to come back to something which you mentioned last year when you joined us. You coined actually the term de-risk, but do not decouple. Could you elaborate after 1 year how you see and what progress you have made in this kind of concept?
Yes, indeed, it was here in Davos that I used for the first time the concept de-risk, not decouple. And I was very glad afterwards it has been taken up by G7 in Hiroshima and of course by all 27 EU member states. And I've discussed this concept a lot with many different countries, also with China. And for me, it's very important also, it was very important also to explain to our Chinese friends, we do not want to decouple. This is neither reasonable nor is it feasible. China is one of our most important trading partners, without any question. But we need to de-risk in some areas. We are working very well in a collaborative way, for example, the decarbonizing of our economies is concerned. We used to say the color of our cooperation is green. But we have issues when it comes to access to the market, when it comes to a level playing field, when it comes to economic security. And one big topic is the topic of overdependence in supply chains. Here we have to manage our risks and we have to de-risk. And the fact that China started to prepare export controls on germanium, gallium and graphite now was not trust building. So we are in intense talks on that topic. But for us, de-risking then means diversify the supply chains, have more trade agreements with multiple partners. For example, we just finished the trade agreement, and lithium plays a big role there, with Chile. We just finished it with New Zealand, with Kenya. But it's also, for example, diversifying vaccine manufacturing capacities to other places in the world. For example, with Rwanda, we have just started to bring mRNA technologies to Rwanda, where the manufacturing capacity now starts. So it's very concrete to look at the risks we have in some areas and to de-risk there in a systematic way. If you look at China, over the last 10 to 15 years, China has systematically reduced its reliance on and over-dependency on the world and increased our dependency on China. And on that, we have to be very frank and very open and discuss that. It is always better, I think, to address problems because then you can solve them.
Thank you, Ursula. We unfortunately have come to the end of the time. I want to end here just by telling you how important your fierce stand related to the European values is, particularly also in the context of Ukraine. A great thank you for defending so much all those values. So please join me again in thanking the President of the European Union.
原来好的益生菌真的可以帮助入睡。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌是国家认证 AB 克菲尔益生菌，含7种有身份证的专利活菌，能产生 GABA、色氨酸等助眠因子，难怪吃了更快入睡，也睡得更好。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌也是台湾市场上唯一添加克菲尔乳杆菌 M1 的产品，这是由台湾知名的大学季转，对季节敏感、调整体质的朋友真的是一大福音。还有这支还添加被称为超级食物的羽衣甘蓝萃取物，不少研究都指出，十字花科蔬菜有助抗炎及防癌。像是羽衣甘蓝含有高量的叶黄素、贝塔胡萝卜素、维生素 K、维生素 C、叶酸等丰富营养素。太阳仙全效克菲尔益生菌专利制成，无塑化剂、无重金属、无人工添加物、无410项农药、无香料调味剂、无防腐剂、无色素，7大保证、7大认证，觉得好安心。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Feel Good， 快点给我下单！太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌。